Good morning, Tom Green here with 9 News as we're breaking into programming to bring you the latest on one of now 3 wildfires burning up and down the Front Range. The Quarry fire burning in Jefferson County for nearly 4 hours now. I want to get the latest now from officials right near Chatfield Reservoir.
Quarry fire. We are currently over 200 acres and it will grow. There is no doubt. This is a common The terrain doesn't allow for it. The good news is that we have a large air support dropping fire retardant and 4 helicopters. They're dropping water on the fire as we speak. This is a huge point of celebration for us from this morning's press conference when it looked like it was going to be tough for us to get some air support here, but we got it. The 4 helicopters are getting the water from Chatfield Reservoir, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife has closed Chatfield Reservoir to recreational activity today for this ability for the. Do we want to pick that up? The duct tape said it's too hot.
Of course, that was mine.
Is Chatfield accessible for photographers who want to photograph?
I don't know. I would think. Yeah. Oh. There you go.
There we go. This should hold it.
That should do it. Chatfield Reservoir is closed today let's go again. Chatfield Reservoir is closed today for water activity, so the 4 helicopters can go in and out, refilling their buckets with water and not have a safety issue with people out skiing and fishing. Firefighters are working hard to keep the fire out of the neighborhoods, and so far they've been successful. It's all been in the open land. No structures have been lost. We've had no injuries. If it does get into the neighborhoods, we will go from trying to suppress the fire to protecting the structures. So that's where we're at with that. Dakota Ridge High School Evacuation Center has grown in attendance. We have over 50 people there, and 7 or 8 dogs and cats are there. We encourage people to use the evacuation center there in the gym, and they are encouraged to bring their cats and dogs. If they do, they're asked to bring a leash and a crate if they have one for their animals. The larger animals have been pretty active going to Jeffco. Sheep, geese, and I think there might even be a pig in there. So people are welcome to bring those animals there as well. So any questions I can answer for you?
You talked about going from suppression to protection in the neighborhoods. How far is the most aggressive fire line from the neighborhoods now, and which neighborhood?
I will be very blunt. Every neighborhood in this facility is at risk. This fire is not an easy fight. The terrain is treacherous. It is very steep. As we talked this morning, there's just like you have in a mountain, there's debris, there's fallen trees, there's all the things that the firefighters have to fight, but it is really steep and it's loose and it's rocky. And there's also Rattlesnake Gulch that's in the middle of this, and it's not called that to be a cute name. It's because it is prone to have a large population of rattlesnakes. So you have that activity that the firefighters have to look for as well. Every neighborhood in there is in a situation that we need to get this fire out. So there's not one per se that is in immediate danger. They all are.
How many neighborhoods, Mark?
In total in there? I don't know. I know that there's 5 that we have evacuated. There are 2 that we have in pre-evacuation, but I don't know how many total there are in this area.
Is it too early to tell where it
may have started and which way it spread?
Well, we had a deputy this morning who was the one who found it. He was doing patrol work in open areas of Jeffco in there, and came across a fire that was about 10 foot by 10 foot. We know right where it started, and it within an hour of that, it was at 50 acres.
Is it suspicious?
The investigation hasn't even begun yet, but I think anytime that you see a small fire in the middle of an area like that at 9 o'clock at night, it makes you scratch your head a little bit.
So just on that note, I spoke to a resident over at the school here who said that basically a rumor was in the neighborhoods that over the last couple of years there were fires set, his words, by environmentalists who wanted to push wildfire issues. I'm curious if you have any evidence of past arsons in the area that were concerning, and if there is any sort of outreach for misinformation or otherwise that you guys are doing right now.
I know nothing of that history. I'm not saying that it's not in existence. Have not looked into that. I'm sure they will be digging into every fire that's been in this area for the past several years at least, but no knowledge of that.
Going back to the air support, how big of a win is it considering there are so many resources with those other fires? What did those logistics look like to be able to get the 4 helicopters in the plane here?
Well, I will tell you this morning, we were not that hopeful. Resources are very, very slim right now for fighting fire. We have 600 professional firefighters that live in Colorado that are out of state, that have deployed to other big fires in the country. And then we have 3 fires happen in Colorado, like Larimer and Boulder, and now this one. So resources are slim. And then you've got to compete for the air resources that are working the 2 larger fires in this. We feel very fortunate and are grateful for the air support. It will make all the difference in the world. As I said, this terrain is not conducive to ground fighting the fire. I don't know how successful we would be, even with all the great efforts these firefighters do in these conditions. It could have been a tough fight, and we're still in the woods. We still got a long way to go, but at least we have the hope that the fire retardant from a big tanker, that's 10,000 gallons a drop, and then 4 helicopters that are shooting to Chatfield back and forth. Hopefully that will really get us a leg up today.
So there is no contention lines. Nobody's putting.
No, we don't have any numbers yet on containment. The 2 numbers that we're most excited about is that we have not lost a structure and we've not had a firefighter injured so far.
How do you expect the weather this afternoon and the night is going to affect the
It
fire?
doesn't help. 98 degrees never helps in a wildland firefight. The weather is just not, again, just like the terrain, the weather is not conducive to a ground fight either.
Do you think the resources are adequate now?
Air support is probably where we need to be. Ground support, no. We're fighting this fire with about 75 sets of boots on the ground. We would much rather have a couple hundred, but we have what we have, so, and they're really getting after it out there. But no, we're not where we want to be.
Will we be getting more, or is this what we have?
This is what we probably will have. It's just not there. And with the 2 other big fires we're fighting, we all got to share.
Has anyone reached out to the governor's office about activating the National Guard's helicopter yet?
Not that I'm aware of. We got 4 helicopters here. I think we're probably where we need to be.
I know you said something about no firefighter injuries. We got some sort of word that a firefighter may have had a seizure of some sort. Is that?
Have not heard that.
Okay.
Have not heard that.
Are you
Carol?
doing return as well or just water?
The big tanker that we have is doing a $10,000 $10,000. The big tanker we have is doing a 10,000 gallon retardant drop, and the 4 helicopters are doing water.
Mark, do you think that, I know that you said it would be hard to get help, but do you think it came because of the great risk to all the homes? Because of all the fires burning right now, it looks like this one is closest to the most homes in the state.
It could have played it could have been a contributing factor. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that are considered with the different incident commanders and with the suppliers for the helicopters and the retardant planes as to where they need to put their efforts.
We did see some video from the air of some crews on the ground. Do you have some trying to fight the fire on the ground, like with shovels? And
Oh yeah, yeah. We've got about 70, 75 firefighters on the ground that are working this fire. But as I said when I started, that terrain is not conducive to a ground fight. It's not a fight you're going to win. We can make a dent, hopefully, but with only 75 sets of boots on the ground on that terrain, that's a tough fight, man.
Can you describe what they're trying to do? What we saw them was working some kind of, I don't know if it was axes or brush cutters, or what do they do?
They could be cutting fire line. They could be clearing debris. It all depends on what particular thing they were trying to accomplish in that particular area.
I know some people who live up here at the evacuation center, they were telling me that they're not surprised that a fire happened here because mitigation efforts are few and far between, and there's a lot of dead trees in the area. I guess I don't know if there are active ongoing mitigation efforts in Quarry.
I do not know. That's out of our scope. Now, I don't know what their plan is or how they go about that.
Mark, I saw Denver fire staging at the school. Do you know what they're up to today?
I do not. Hopefully they're helping us fight this fire. I don't know.
We've been listening to Mark Techmeyer with the Jeffco Sheriff's Office describing the current status of the Quarry fire. That fire is now coming up on 15 hours old. It is, of course, Wednesday, and now for the past 3 days, we've been talking about fires in Colorado, 3 major fires that are burning within 80 miles of one another. On Monday, we started with the Alexander Mountain Fire. That was just west of Loveland. Then the Stone Canyon Fire fired up yesterday, just north of Lyons in the afternoon. And now we had this one in Jefferson County, just to the west of Chatfield State Park, near Deer Creek Canyon Park. And as Mark Techmeyer was describing, they only have about 2 miles to go to find Chatfield Reservoir and find the water they need. That's why they've closed it to recreation for the day, so that they could get as much water as they need as easily as they can without putting anyone in any danger. But that certainly sounded like some good news today after the early morning briefing from Mark Techmeyer, where he was very concerned about the development of that fire through the day. Now, several hours later, it really appears that those air support, the air support they're getting is making a big difference. That large fixed-wing slurry bomber, as well as those 4 helicopters. Our own Evan Krugel is there just to the north at Ken Carl and 470 roughly, giving us an update on what he's seeing there. Evan, give us the latest.
Yeah, Tom, this is where many of those evacuated families have been watching the fire from this morning. You can see it quickly growing to the west as it moves up that canyon. Firefighters attacking this fire from the air, saying they're having a really tough time getting to it to fight it on the ground. Step out of the way to give you a live look. You just heard Mark Techmeyer say it bluntly. Simply put, with all the fires going on right now, he said they do not have the resources here that they would like to have on this fire. About 70, 75 firefighters. He says they would like to have a lot more. Unfortunately, they do not have it, so they're dealing with what they have, and that means a relentless air assault. We have seen multiple helicopters, including the state's new helicopter out here, lifting water from small ponds, also a number of tankers dropping retardant, not only on the west side, but also up the canyon. Now, from this vantage point, it is pretty tough to see exactly how far up the canyon this fire is stretching. But as we just heard from Mark, 2 new neighborhoods now on pre-evacuation notice, and those same 5 neighborhoods from this morning do remain on full evacuation notice. Those, again, are the Deer Creek, Mesa, Sampson, Maxwell, McKinney, and Murphy subdivisions, and then again those 2 new pre-evacuations. We've seen folks here who have been here since as early as 2 o'clock this morning. Again, we're pretty close to Ken Carl and 470, just to give you a good look as we're looking south towards this fire. Winds here have been pushing this fire to the west up the canyon, and those winds were pretty calm a couple of hours ago, Tom, but we've seen them pick up here a little bit in the past hour or so as another tanker comes in, potentially here to do another drop on this fire. Folks here who have been evacuated, there you go, seeing that air tanker drop another load of retardant on this fire. Folks here, a lot of them pretty nervous, a lot of them pretty calm, simply saying there's nothing they can do at this point other than let firefighters do their job. But certainly tense moments out here. As Tom mentioned, some good news so far. No structures have been lost. No firefighters have been injured, but we did hear Mark mention just how difficult that terrain is. And we're hearing also tons of rattlesnake issues up there that they're having to look out for. as they move in and try to fight this fire. So certainly not an easy situation. Fire officials say at this point we're looking at about 200 acres, but they say no doubt this fire will grow. How big remains to be seen, but that's obviously something they will be working on today. One other thing to mention, he said even neighborhoods that have not been evacuated, essentially Mark said every single neighborhood in this vicinity does remain at risk at this point, simply because of how strong this fire is and how quickly it has been growing this morning. We've seen a lot of torching out here, big trees going up in flames behind us, and mostly white smoke, which is of course indicative of no structures, just those timbers and grasses burning. But it is really hot out here, and just a little bit of wind, certainly not what firefighters were hoping for. The good news, they are getting that air attack that they were not anticipating this morning. We have seen that relentlessly over the past couple of hours. That's expected to continue throughout the day. Reporting live near Ken Carl, Evan Krugel, 9 News.
All right, Evan, thanks. We just saw over your shoulder as you were describing that super tanker that Mark Techmeyer was telling us about. 10,000 gallon drops, but that means it has to go and get 10,000 gallons and then return. And you think of the wear and tear on these pilots flying all these missions now for 3 days, both with those fixed wing and those helicopters as well.
Yeah, Tom, and that's the thing is they've got a number of aircraft out here, so it seems like every few minutes we're seeing something happen on the fire. In fact, they can go to Chatfield, which is just to the southeast of here, and then there's another little pond here just north of the fire that we've seen helicopters coming to scoop up water from and then drop it on hot spots essentially over here. So the good news is, yeah, you've got only limited resources, but we have seen them kind of cycle in and out. So they're certainly getting a number of aircraft on the fire, both water and retardant here this morning.
All right, Evan, thanks very much. Of course, that is playing out right now in the southwest metro Denver area, but about 70 miles to the north. The update today on the Stone Canyon fire was not a good one because it involved one fatality. They did find a body inside of one of 5 burned buildings that the fire started yesterday that was just north of Lyons. And then, of course, there is the Alexander Mountain fire. That was the first one to start burning this week. A large fire now over 5,000 acres, 0% containment just to the west of Loveland. Now, in about an hour, Governor Polis is expected to address the state's response. He's in Loveland, or will be in Loveland. We'll be carrying that for you live. And of course, we'll continue to keep you abreast of everything involving these 3 major fires burning right here on 9 News and on the 9 News app. It's also available at 9news.com. We'll see you then.